everyone, and welcome to Parent Power. My name is Nicole Serrato, and I work for the Children's Scholarship Fund as a Communications and Development Assistant. This evening, we're celebrating School Choice Week and how important it is for families to be in control of where and how their kids are educated, whether that's a private school, a neighborhood school, a charter school, an online school, or even homeschool. Before we start this event, I'd like all of you to ask yourself a question throughout this event and also answer this in the chat. So I'll be sharing the screen with you briefly, which is, what does school choice mean to you? And what does it mean for you to be able to choose how your child is educated? Share your thoughts in the chat. We'll be sharing some of the comments at the end of the event. So parents, again, why is it important for you to be able to choose the best school for your children? And what does school choice mean to you? The Children's Scholarship Fund is a national organization headquartered in New York. And we award K through 8th grade scholarships to families so they can choose what school is best fit for their child. Now, if you're not following us on social media, you'll see my handles here. If this is a Children's Scholarship Fund New York social media handles, and this is the handles for the Children's Scholarship Fund in New Hampshire. Next, I'm really excited to start this event off. As you can see from all the photos in the slideshow that we just watched, and on our social media if you just followed us, the CSF scholarships scholars attend all types of schools. We are happy to be able to help families make these choices because we know that a one size does not fit all when it comes to education. And this I know by personal experience. Not only do I work for CSF, but I'm a CSF alumna. And what that means is in 7th grade, my dad applied for the CSF scholarship and I was awarded that scholarship, my sister and I. I went from an overcrowded school where I was failing every grade and just was not showing much promise to a school where I received the attention that I needed, where I became student council, I made new friends, I was inspired by teachers, and I truly believe that my life would be on a completely different path if it wasn't from the scholarship that I received from CSF and the freedom that they gave to my father to choose a different school for me. Now, here I am with you tonight, paying it forward so more children can get the same opportunities that I did. I'm also a member of the Young Leaders Board, which is one of our young donor groups in New York. And as of right now, I'm training to run in the New York City Half Marathon, raising money for more scholarships, which happens in March. So I'm really happy to celebrate with you tonight, and I'm excited to hear from all of our speakers. They're so dynamic, and I know that you're gonna really enjoy everything that they have to say. I also want to announce that tonight we are having a raffle drawing. So stick around to the end of the event because one of our lucky parents is going to be winning the raffle drawing. I will be announcing the winners at the end. We're giving away a Chromebook, we're giving away a Mac Mini, and we're giving away a $100 Amazon gift card. So make sure you stay tuned. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce you to Darla Romfo, the president of the Children's Scholarship Fund. Darla?
Thank you, Nicole. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Thank you to all the parents, the educators, our panelists. We have an interesting interview coming up with someone who made school choice happen in Washington, D.C., a mom just like many of you out there joining us tonight. You know, when CSF was started in 1998, Teddy Forsman and John Walton came together, and they firmly believe that parents are the first educators of their children, that every parent should be empowered to make the best decision for their children because parents know their kids and they know what will work best. So that's what we're really here tonight to do, is to celebrate each one of you and the choices you've made, and also to inspire you, so that you go forward, and when you go out in your communities, you explain and what school choice means to you, and that when you look for candidates to vote for, you say, what is their view on this, and how can I make a difference by what I vote or when I speak up? And you've heard a lot in the last year and a couple of years through the pandemic that a lot of parents are questioning what's happening with their kids in their schools, and they're trying to make those choices too. And guess what? Politicians are listening. And we'll hear a little bit more about that tonight. What are the opportunities and potential? And certainly we've lived through that at CSF. In New York, we have a scholarship program, and many of you get scholarships and partner with us to help your kids. And that money is raised privately, mostly from individual donors. But we also run a program in New Hampshire, which has 2 publicly funded programs. One of them is the education tax credit, and some of you may be beneficiaries of that. And this new program called the Education Freedom Accounts, which we'll hear Governor Sununu explain a little bit about that in a video clip. And that many people are benefiting from that as well. And that's really exciting because now the state is taking the money that they were spending on your child's education and they're depositing it into an account that you get to decide where that gets spent. Does it get to spend to go to a private school, or for online school, or for books, or for some of the other qualified educational expenses? And this is happening more and more around the country. So that's very, very exciting. As much as there are a lot of things right now that we can be concerned about in our world, this is something very exciting to see parents empowered. So we're here to celebrate your choices. And John Walton, one of our co-founders, always said that the parents are the true heroes. You guys are making sacrifices. We're just coming alongside you. Can't tell you how proud and grateful I am to be able to help parents do the right thing for their children. I can't tell you how inspiring it's been all these 20 years to meet the families, to be able to know the kids and see their bright faces of the video that we played at the beginning. It's just, it really is the reason we all do this. So we are here to come beside you. We celebrate you. I really want you to think about what school choice means for you, and that you can be a part of making it happen for other people too. So now, without further ado, you're going to hear from a lot of interesting people tonight, educators, parents. I want to turn it over after this video, we're going to turn it over to Kate to do an interesting interview with a special guest. But just before that, we're going to hear a little video clip from Governor Sununu from New Hampshire. And he's telling us in just a really clear, plain way what the Education Freedom Accounts do in New Hampshire. And that's a real taste of what is school choice. So again, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm just so proud of what you do for your children and the initiative that you've taken. And we're so happy and grateful that we can help you.
We passed school choice in New Hampshire. So how did we do that? We said, well, let's focus on those that need choice the most, lower income families. So families up to 300% of the federal poverty level can now use the state portion of their funds, whatever state money would normally go to educate that child in the school. That's your money. You decide where it can go, whether it's a private school, homeschooling, tutoring, virtual learning academies, online, whatever it is, right? The parent and the child knows the best path. Now, 98, 99% of kids, public schools in New Hampshire are phenomenal. They're great. I'm the first governor in 25 years to come up through the public schools in New Hampshire. And let me tell you, they are phenomenal. But for 1 or 2% of the kids, sometimes those 4 walls of the traditional classroom don't work. So let's not just keep trying to cram it in, because it can be miserable for those kids. It really can. And there's so much potential bottled up in those kids that never gets kind of brought to the surface. So let's let them design their path. So now these families have that kind of money, and that in essence is economic freedom. It's giving the money back to that family, saying, you design your own educational pathway. We thought, a few hundred kids might take up the program in the first year. It's something like 7 times what we expected, which tells you the demand was there. And it's mostly, frankly, lower income, a lot of inner city families that school wasn't working for their kid, for their child, for whatever reason. And it's not for me to say that why it isn't working or whatever it is. It's me to say, I appreciate you don't think it's working. So here's the dollars. Here's all the other options. You do you. You find that best path for your child.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Baker Demers. I'm the Executive Director of Children's Scholarship Fund in New Hampshire, and we are so lucky to have Governor Sununu in New Hampshire. He's such a champion for children and a supporter of the Education Freedom Account. I'm also so happy to be here with you, coming from New Hampshire, but with all of you also from New York City. Tonight, I have the honor of interviewing our very special guest, Virginia Walden Ford. As a student, a mother, an advocate, and a grandmother, Virginia has spent her lifetime fighting to expand educational opportunities for children and families. While she was raising her 3 children in Washington, D.C., Virginia was shocked that so many children were forced to attend failing, crumbling schools simply because they lived in the wrong zip code. In fact, she was worried that her own son, William, was falling through the cracks of a system that wasn't focused on the best interests of children. In 1998, she formed a grassroots organization called DC Parents for School Choice. Then in 2003, with the support of national education organizations and lawmakers, Virginia and her courageous group of parent advocates succeeded in convincing Congress and President George Bush to enact the nation's first ever Opportunity Scholarship Program for low-income children in DC. Her fight for education freedom inspired the 2019 movie, Miss Virginia, which is available on Netflix.
Thank you so much, Kate, for having me. I have to compose myself a minute. As soon as I see those clips of the movie, I go right back to that moment.
Well, you know, that was my first question. What did it feel like to have your life made into a movie?
You know, it's an amazing experience. I love it. I love that the voice of parents is heard through this film. You know, I'm honored that it was about my son and myself, but it's about all parents. There were thousands of parents that were in the same circumstance that I was in and tried to use their voices and oftentimes were dismissed. So when the film came out, I was not only happy about our story being told, and my son is just ecstatic, but I was happy that a story of parents with power and courage and commitment to their children could be a story as well. And so it's been a really good experience. It's been more than I could have ever hoped for. I never thought that our voices would ever be heard, and they are. Parents.
And can you tell us a little bit more about that time, you know, when you were worried about your son, William, you know, you wanted to get him into a better school. I mean, how did that really lead you into, you know, starting really what became an entire movement in DC?
You know, he was William. In the movie, his name was James, but his name is William. And I try to tell people that. He tells me, "Mom, please tell him my name is William." But in the movie, they changed his name. You know, he was a great kid. He was smart. He had a lot going for him, but nobody saw that but me, his mama. And I watched him get pulled into the street. I watched him skipping school, not being interested. And when I say, "William, why are you behaving this way?" He would say, "They don't care. Nobody cares about me anyway. So I'm not going to waste their time by going to school." And it got progressively worse over the years to the point where I realized that I had to do something. I was his mother. I had to speak up for my child. I had to make sure that he didn't fall through the cracks. That was my job. I knew him better than everybody else, and I was not going to allow the rest of the world to put him in this box, you know, that they oftentimes put particularly poor kids in, or children of single parents, or kids that have been in trouble in some way, shape, or form. They put them in a little box, and that's where they keep them. I couldn't let that happen. But in fighting for William, I started talking to other parents in the community in my neighborhood, and they were feeling the same thing. And it became really clear to us over a period of time that all of us were afraid for our kids. All of us needed to use our voices to let somebody know. We didn't know what to do. We didn't even know where to start, but we stood together, shoulder to shoulder. I worked with amazing parents who were committed and were ready to fight for their children. And our rallying call was, we know our kids. We know what they need. And we're going to tell anybody that would listen, which is kind of what we did. Anybody that would listen. We went to meetings. We went to events. We crashed all kinds of places and told them, you have got to do something about our children's education. Our kids are failing. During that time, thousands and thousands of kids were failing in low-income communities in DC, and we saw it. And what happens in inner cities oftentimes is when kids fell in school, they get pulled into destructive things. And the drug dealers in our community, they were just sitting back waiting for our kids to fail so that they could pull them into negative influences. So we knew we formed an army of parents that were willing to stand up and take chances to be heard, make sacrifices. And so it became one mother's voice that turned into the voice of thousands. It was amazing.
Well, it's that scene we watched where you were nervous about speaking at the town hall meeting. Sometimes we go to things and have to speak before people. And I know a lot of parents are nervous sometimes about doing that. Can you talk a little bit about how you overcame any fear that you had and how you really, just got up the guts to do it as a mom? I mean, you're just a regular mom, right? You think to yourself, like, what can I do,
Absolutely. Okay, I was the behind the scenes mom. I was like, okay, y'all go up front and do stuff. But it became clear that I had to do something. I am still a nervous speaker, still. But when I'm talking about children and when I'm talking about the opportunities that we have to make the world better for our kids, the words come, they you ask me to speak about anything else, I still get nervous. Ask me to talk about children and what we have to do to make sure they get everything they need, and I become a speaker, because it's my passion. When I look at the children around the country and I talk to parents, and I know it's a lot of parents on this call who have made the same commitment to their children. They just have to find their voice. But that voice will come when you have a bunch of people looking at you saying, you're a low-income mother, you can't do anything for your child, you need to just be quiet. It makes me angry, and I think that's what brings out the ability to be able to talk about it. In that clip, which actually happened, those people were just making me mad. And the kinds of things they were saying about our kids, and our kids have to wait, and our kids we had been waiting for years for something to change in DC public schools. And I was tired of waiting, and I was watching my child fail, and I was watching him be pulled into terrible situations. And I think I just got mad, and I believed then, and I believe now, that we have to fight harder than anybody. We are our children's advocates. If we don't advocate for them, no one else will. I guarantee it. Actually, we were told that, oh, y'all not gonna last long. You won't be around long. I'm sure you're gonna, stop doing this in a couple of weeks. The more they told us we couldn't do it, the more we did.
Well, and I know I noticed, like the schools closing and the pandemic really changed the discussion in general. So I'm just wondering, how do you think that's changed kind of school choice in general? Or, what do you see as kind of the biggest obstacle to, families having school choice available to their kids?
Kate, actually, I've been really encouraged by what I've seen in legislatures all around the country. And I've also been encouraged. I have had the most fun for 2 years talking to parents. I've talked to thousands of parents on Zoom, so I should really know how to do Zoom really well, and I don't. But it's been great hearing the power of the parent voice, hearing how involved they have become in their children's educational experience. The questions they asked. People found me on Facebook, and that was fine. I enjoyed it. And I believe that parents in the last couple of years during the pandemic, we have had to really face all those things that were happening with our children educationally. And we have learned. I am so proud and so excited for the parents that I've seen all over the country that have used their voices and raised themselves up and said, okay, the kids out of school, I'm gonna teach them and I'm gonna do fine. And all the encouragement that we've been able to give them, those of us that have been around for a long time, comes back to us tenfold when we see how well they're doing. I am so impressed with parent power. I'm I can't even tell you how happy I am to be here tonight. Not just celebrating National School Choice Week, but celebrating parents who have courage and guts and are going to stand up for their children. It really reminds me of when we got started a little bit. You know, there were thousands of parents around the country that were fighting for their children. And then there was a little lull where they told us, we don't need you parents. And then they realized they need us bad. You know, we are the voices of children. We are the voices of cities, and communities, and neighborhoods. And so I'm very encouraged with it. 13 school choice programs passed in legislatures around the state in 13 states, and that was encouraging to me. There were a couple of programs that were enhanced. That was very exciting. Every time I turned last January to about May, every time I turned on TV, there was a new program being passed in some legislature, and I actually testified in a couple, and it was just so exciting. So we're getting it. They're getting it, but we got it. Parents are amazing. Parents are the rock of school choice. We are the ones that fight for our babies to have a better educational experience in this country. I told parents in DC a number of years ago, I'll be here. I'm getting old. I'll be here until you don't need me anymore. I'm going to be here until they don't need me anymore. And but it's still as exciting as it was then. My fears for speaking just went away when I realized that my voice could make a difference. And that's what most of us don't know. We don't realize that our voices make changes. They make a difference. And when I heard that in my head, that what you're saying, somebody's listening to that can make a difference in your child's life, I started talking more.
Thank you so, so much for being here with us. Thank you so much for your voice and your encouragement, your encouraging words today. If you could just share one last thought with the parents that are on this call who might be learning about school choice for the first time, or might be the people who have been active this whole time. If you just leave them one last thought.
Well, the one thing that I say to parents everywhere I go is to be strong, be courageous, be hopeful, be dignified, be loving, But my mantra is use your voice, stand up, speak to your legislators, speak to your local officials, tell them, I will not sit around and watch my child fail. And the more people that do it together, then you say, we will not sit around and watch our children fail. That's what we believed. We believed that at the end of the day, we would make a difference for our children, and we did. Nobody could have told me 20 years ago that we would have won. Nobody could have told me that there would be a movie about a parental fight. Nobody, But it happened because the parents in DC had the courage to believe that they could stand shoulder to shoulder with people like Ted Forsman, John Walton, and many others who really believed that children needed the best, they needed resources to get the best education possible. That when I look back on my life, And I think about all those people that made a difference. The Children's Scholarship Fund was amazing. I love Darla, and I have, watched over the years. And really, if you really want to be honest, Darla, and Kate, I'm gonna answer this. One of the first things we thought about was what they would Children's Scholarship Fund. How can we, which was private money, but how can we make that something that is a publicly run program that every child will benefit from? So, we had all these places, Milton Friedman, Ed Choice, all these American Federation for Children, all these organizations were speaking into my ear. This parent who never, ever would have thought that I'd be even involved in anything close to this, but they were in my ear, and it was lovely. It was wonderful how many people believed in that little ragtag group of parents in DC that became an army, and we were an army.
I love it. Thank you so much. I can't believe I would talk to you for 4 hours. I mean, we're out of time, but thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to chat with you. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, you can go watch Miss Virginia on Netflix. And now we're going to hear from a New Hampshire mom, Yanira, and her daughter, Elianny. Again, Virginia, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome, and good luck, parents. Be strong. Be strong. That's what you got to do.
My name is Elianny Gonzalez Pena. I'm in 9th grade, and I go to Holy Family Academy.
And my name is Yanira Pena. I'm Elianny's mother. I'm looking for different school because I saw my daughter not feel like comfortable when she going, so she not feel good. And I say, it's better to try another one because she not feel secure when she going. So that's why I aproveché la oportunidad.
She attacked the opportunity.
Que me dio children's scholarship in Holy Family Academy.
Yeah.
To try different school, and I love it.
So at my old school, and the teacher would be explaining the algebra, when I would ask her questions and advocate for myself, she wasn't very clear. So then when she would give us the homework and I would come home, I would be super confused. All the teachers at Holy Family, they pay attention to each student individually. So when I advocate for myself, they explain it clearly. And here at Holy Family Academy, I focused more on my future and my expectations in school. With a better education, you can get much farther and you can get a better job and all that. You get more opportunities.
The best gift to my kids is the education. So Children's Scholarship helped me to give you that to my kids. Because for me, this education is the better gift you can give it to your kids.
Wonderful video, and as we just heard, education is one of the best gifts that you can give your children. Hello everyone, my name is Marie Bathelmy and I am the Director of Scholarship Operations at the Children's Scholarship Fund. I have the pleasure this evening of introducing 4 parents who are just like you, who have used or are using scholarships to send their children to the school of their choice. First on our panel is Ms. Shalimar Encarnacion. Shalimar is a program and outreach coordinator at CSF New Hampshire, but before joining the CSF team, she was a CSF mom. Her son Angel used the CSF scholarship starting in the 8th grade. Over the years, Shalimar has volunteered for CSF, testifying to the New Hampshire legislators about the positive effects of the scholarships on her son. A few years ago, she and her son Angel were special guests at Governor Sununu's State of the State address. We also have Katie Hines Hops. She is coming to us from Colebrook, New Hampshire, up near the Canadian border. She homeschools her 9-year-old son, Cohen. Katie leads a small homeschool co-op group and is helping others homeschool families in New Hampshire to access their education freedom accounts. Also joining us this evening is Katia Urbina. She is a mom of 2 daughters, Abigail and Angeli, who attend in St. Athanasius School in Bronx, New York. Katia is dedicated to educational choice despite her family's obstacles, particularly during the pandemic. And finally, but most certainly not least, Miss Celia Sims, who also lives in Bronx, New York. She will round out our parent panel. Celia's son Caleb is in the 4th grade at St. Francis of Assisi School in Bronx, New York. Faith and values were very important to her in choosing a school for Caleb, who is affectionately called the mayor because he is quite the people person. And so welcome panelists. Thank you for being with us here tonight. Your stories, I'm sure, is going to resonate with so many who are just like you. And so we're going to get started with Shalimar. Shalimar, can you tell us why you initially applied for a scholarship? Were you unhappy with the education Angel was receiving?
Thank you, Marie. I initially had started looking for a private school more for my daughter, who had just recovered from cancer. And that was back in 2013. And she did receive a scholarship for half a year, but she chose to go back to public school. And then that following year, we got the scholarship for Angel, and he was able to go to the private school, and it was night and day difference.
How so? Can you give us an example?
So he had an IEP at the middle school he was at, and they were not following it. And when he started going to the school about 2 months in, like I would say late October, the teacher said to me at the private school, why did he even have an IEP? He doesn't really even need it. He's really good. He just needed to be seated in the back of the classroom in the corner so he wasn't distracted by kids in the back, and just work with him individually if he needs help.
And for those who are unaware, an IEP is an individualized education plan, and those are typically given to special needs students. So I'm hearing you say your son was diagnosed special needs when, as the teachers in his new school said, he really was not.
Right, he had ADHD and he did get migraines a lot, but he wasn't required, he didn't need what the way they were saying he needed it. And they weren't even giving him what he did need.
But he did find a place that understood him and was able to meet his needs.
Yeah.
So Katia, can you tell us about how you chose a school for your daughter Abigail when she was ready to start kindergarten? What made you look beyond the local neighborhood school that she would have been assigned to?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So my daughter Abigail initially graduated Head Start in 2013 from La Penn. And that was my first chance or opportunity to get to know the educational system in the United States, being that I am the first generation of immigrants in this country. So for me, it was all new. So I had the opportunity to be a chairperson in Head Start. And with that said, I learned that I had a voice and a vote and that I had an election. So when she graduated, I applied for charter schools, and I didn't get called for any of the 15 charter schools that had submitted applications. So I had to go to my local school that was in my zip code. And when I went to visit, I was shocked and I was not happy with what I saw. And that just concerned me. And then I heard about the private school around my area, which is St. Athanasius Catholic School. But to me, it was something unreachable because as being an immigrant, I don't have such a good income, being that I haven't had that opportunity of having university communication in this country, or education, I'm sorry. So I didn't even thought that this was possible for us as a family to afford. But despite that, I still went to the school, asked questions, and what was to me a dream, unreachable dream, became reality when I was introduced to CSF, that I didn't even know what it was or what it meant. So when they told me you can apply, you are eligible, I thought I was dreaming and that I was, it wasn't a reality to me. But when I had the opportunity and they told me that it was just an application that I had to submit with my income, and that for me, I can put it into words, said that it made a life change to me and my family, because it gives my daughter the opportunity that I would want her to have, the opportunity that I maybe don't have in this country, but it doesn't have to be her story. So I learned that I'm not a number. I have a choice and I have a vote. So for me, CSF is a change of life and opportunities to my daughter and my family. And I am truly, truly appreciative.
And we appreciate you. And I'm sure your daughters appreciate you as well, because you took that step. You found that voice within you and you took that step to go and speak up for them on their behalf, no matter what your obstacles were. And so another person who I know had faced some obstacles, Katie, you made the decision to homeschool your son. Can you tell us how you came about making that decision and describe your experience with homeschooling?
We actually decided to homeschool when I was pregnant. Both my husband and I did not have phenomenal public school experiences. And living as rural as we do, sending him to a public school wasn't logistically possible. I mean, I think that the closest private school from us is like 3 hours away. So homeschool was really the only option, if not public school.
Wow. Were you home? You said you're based on your public school experiences, so that actually stayed with you.
Oh yeah.
And
when September comes and you've been graduated for 10 years, but you still get anxiety from like the change in season, it clearly had a lasting traumatic effect. Living rurally, you kind of get, I hate to say this, but like our schools kind of get the leftovers teacher wise, you know? And because there's so few resources for the rural areas, just as it sounds like is the same issue in the city, you know, you kind of have to make do with what you have.
And you certainly have been doing that, making do with what you have. And so the EFA program is a program that was recently passed in the state of New Hampshire. And so it is very new, but you've taken an extra step to help other families and started a Facebook group to help other homeschool families. Tell us about that.
Well, there's kind of like a community of homeschoolers in the state of New Hampshire who have been around for 100 years. And they were kind of viewing home educators who access to the EFA as like less than other home educators. And it's like every time the EFA was being discussed on these like Facebook forums, anybody who had applied for it was kind of getting attacked.
Wow.
And it was just like, whoa. We all have the same goal here. We all want what's best for our kids. Just some of us don't have the financial, the financial means to do it on our own,
Well said. Well said. And I'm glad that you've been able to bring this group together to support one another. That's what Ms. Virginia was talking about, unifying our voices. And you're doing that in your way, in your area. Celia, can you share with us how you first found out about CSF and why you decided to apply for a scholarship for Caleb?
Well, like one of our former parents just said, I didn't know when I needed help that this kind of help was available, that there was a children's scholarship fund that could help, in the ability to actually make a good school choice for my child. And I applied when he was going into kindergarten. It was introduced to me by his former school. And, I wasn't very hopeful when I did, but the result was very, very beneficial for our family, both financially and spiritually as well, because we really wanted him to go to a school of faith. And that's lined it up with some of the standards and moral beliefs that we had.
That's great. You found a school that lined up with your values. How was Caleb able to adjust to the in-person learning during the pandemic, since he is the mayor after all?
Well, they call him the Mr. President.
Oh, he's Mr. President. He's been
Yes.
upgraded.
Yes, he's he's very outgoing, very vocal, likes being the center of attention, and he is a very sighted learner. Being on, when the pandemic hit and being online, virtual learning was just not really working for him. He's hands-on, as I said before, very visual in his learning. So when St. Francis of Assisi was going back into the new year, just still in the height of pandemic, but they were doing hybrid. I said, you know what, I need to get him into school, even if it was 2 to 3 days for the week, which what they were doing, these alternate days. And he was glad to be among people and among a smaller classroom with a teacher, and just everything started improving over time. And then of course after the first semester they transitioned to in-person learning every day, and I'm telling you, it made a world of difference in his daily ability to have that social interaction as well as being taught.
That's wonderful. It sounds like you found a place that truly meets the needs of the whole child, and
Yes.
that is the right place for your son. And so we do have one more question for our panelists, and for Shalimar and Katia, if you can answer this question both in English y en español, porque hay muchos padres aquí que hablan español y también quiero oír un poquito de ustedes, de su parte. And so the question is, and we're going to start first with Shalimar. What are your hopes and dreams for your children's? Well, Shalimar, your child is older, but you still have hopes and dreams for him. But for the other ones who are still ends of school age, what are your hopes and dreams for your children's future?
Well, I will answer. Obviously, my angel is now 19 years old, and I still have a hope that he's going to go ahead and become the best version of himself. But my hope right now is actually for the children that are coming up in New Hampshire, and being able to help them to be able to achieve the dreams that they want, regardless of their income and regardless of their zip codes. So that is my hope and dream for the children of New Hampshire. Mi hijo Ángel, él tiene 19 años ahora, pues ya él está grande, no necesito pensar tanto en cuanto qué es lo que yo quiero para él, excepto que quiero que sea la mejor versión de él mismo. Mayormente yo me enfoco en ayudar a los padres y las familias aquí en New Hampshire para que ellos puedan tener las oportunidades que Angel no tuvo, y que con el EFA, y que también tuvo la oportunidad con la escuela privada. Es importante para mí que las familias aquí en New Hampshire puedan conseguir lo que ellos necesitan para que sus hijos puedan salir hacia adelante.
Bien dicho, well said. Katie, what are your hopes and dreams for your Cohen?
I just want him to be a happy and well-adjusted human being who is kind and does something with his life that brings him joy.
That
As
is
simple as
so
that.
sweet. That is so sweet. And you having the opportunities to homeschool him and instill in your family values, I'm sure that makes it extra special for you.
It makes a world of difference, and we appreciate everything CSF has offered us.
Amen. And Miss Celia, your hopes and dreams for the president, Caleb.
Well, that he will become president. In actuality, my hopes and dream is for him to make an impact in his world. He's a very, very personable person, very sociable. He's a risk taker. He's not shy. And so I see him in the public forum. I see him, yes, as a politician or a lawyer or a preacher. He lives in a pastor's home, but I see him for more than even what he might even envision for himself. So the sky is the limit. And I really am thankful to God for such a support from CSF.
Great, wonderful. And we will be looking for Caleb on the ballot sooner, probably much rather than later.
Vote Caleb.
Vote Caleb. Katia, ahora, por favor, su contesta.
You wanted English and Spanish?
En inglés y en español. Yes, please.
Okay, so my hopes and my dreams are for Abigail and Angelique to be whatever they want to be in the future. Abigail wants to be an oncologist, a pediatric oncologist. So my hopes are that she can achieve her dreams, not mattering the barriers that may be in the way, not mattering zip codes, like Shalimar said, not mattering that she's used to be a minority because now Hispanic community is growing, and that she can achieve her dreams of being an oncologist, and Angeli wants to be a veterinarian. So I'm hoping, and I am sure that with foundations like CFF, we will be able to make that possible. So mis sueños y mis esperanzas como mamá, primeramente están puestas en Dios y también en fundaciones como CFF, para que mi hija Abigail pueda realizar su sueño de hacer una oncóloga pediátrica, y que su código postal o su raza no sean limitantes para conseguir sus sueños, al igual que Angelique, que quiere ser una veterinaria. Entonces, mi deseo y mi esperanza están puestas en fundaciones como estas, a las cuales estoy eternamente agradecida, yo y mi familia, y que pueda ella ser una de las oncólogas más importantes en Estados Unidos, representando no solo a la nación americana, pero también como hondureña en este país. Así que estoy muy agradecida con una fundación como ustedes.
Muchísimas gracias y nosotros estamos agradecidas o bien agradecidos por usted, Shalimar, y por todos los demás. We are very grateful for all of our parents. You each are very special to us, and there would be no program without you, because you are truly partners with us in helping us to educate your children. And so thank you to Katia, Shalimar, Celia, and Katie for sharing your stories. Your stories are very similar to many who are hearing you now, and probably many more who are coming behind and want the same opportunity. And so before I turn it over so that you all can hear some of our wonderful principals, I just wanted to take a second to remind everyone that the requalification time is upon us. And so do be looking out for your emails from CSF, Team CSF, with all the information so that you can get your scholarships for next year, academic year 22-23. So on behalf of everyone at CSF, especially your program team who loves to serve you and be of help in any way that we can. Thank you so much for listening. And now we're going to hear from some principals. And first, we're going to watch a short video interview with the principal from Guardian Angel School in Manhattan, New York City.
My favorite part of being back in school is just having the kids back in our school buildings. It's great to have them in the classrooms, and my faculty and staff are just as happy as I am. Not to mention, the kids are happy too. Students are responding really well. I mean, there are many of them who were here in person last year, so they're used to the routines, and even those that were full remote are adjusting nicely. Many of the protocols that are in place this year were the same ones that were in place last year. So the in-person students had to come in upon arrival. They had to have a temperature check and sanitize on their way in. And then throughout the school day, they're sanitizing. Every teacher has their own protocol that we follow based on the Archdiocesan guidelines. Our students in the same grade are considered a cohort. So cohorts remain together throughout the school day. And in our middle school, our teachers are switching. The children stay in place in their classroom. It's all to keep everyone safe.
Thank you,
Well, thank you very much to Christy Acosta Perez for showing us how Guardian Angel School in Manhattan is keeping everyone safe during these times and back in person once again for learning. My name is Elizabeth Toomey, and I'm the Director of Communications here at CSF, and we're very lucky to have some leaders from CSF participating schools with us tonight. I make quick introductions, and they will turn on their cameras and come on the screen, and then we'll hear from them. So first we have Andrea Elliott. She's the principal of Bishop Brady High School, which is a Catholic high school in Concord, New Hampshire. Also from New Hampshire, we have Sharon Osborne, who's the founder and director of Latitude Learning, which supports homeschool families. And last but not least, from the great state of New York, Lois Gregory is the founder and principal of the Learning Tree Cultural Preparatory School, which is an independent school in the Williamsbridge section of the Bronx. So Lois, I think, still needs to turn on her camera. She's here with us though, so there you go. Great. So if Sharon and Lois could unmute themselves. I'm going to start off asking Lois. You know, I haven't visited all of your schools. I haven't been able to get up to New Hampshire recently, but I have been to Lois's school many times. Wonderful school. So Lois, I'll start with you. What does the concept of school choice or parental choice in education mean to you? And why do you think it's important that parents are able to decide where their children go to school as opposed to being assigned a school?
The first thing I would like to say, I am so inspired by this evening's presentation. The presentation was phenomenal. The parents were phenomenal. The governor, oh my goodness, he really gets it. I am so warmed and inspired just by the presentation. I don't need to say anything. But obviously, school choice is so important and so phenomenal. Many students would be left behind if it were not for programs that supported school choice. And we are so thankful to CSF. CSF has saved us. And I mean that. During the pandemic, if it wasn't for CSF, we would have had a problem. But why is it important for parents to have a choice? In the inner city, children, the first teachers that are hired in public schools in the inner city are far-reaching neighborhoods. It's not from the neighborhood that the children are in. Many of the teachers, and it doesn't matter, we live in a diverse world and we teach diversity. But very often, when children do not see teachers that look like themselves, often the teachers do not understand them. Some inner city children, they have very low vocabularies. Often their grandparents, their parents have not been acquainted with large vocabularies or even math. They don't come from college grandparents that graduated college and parents that graduated college, but yet these parents have the same desires for their children. And the public school often overlooks them because they don't come with the rich language. They don't come expressing themselves in the same way. And so if they choose a school where someone understands that and believes and knows that they just need a boost, they need a chance, they need something extra. So in our school, we do understand the children and we have high expectations for them. So we enrich our curriculum with many different things that are not just reading, writing, and arithmetic. So we want everybody to feel good about themselves. So we do the arts, we do music, we do dance, we do trips, we do this. And even during the pandemic, we had to stop traveling all over the world. But we found virtual trips and conversations. One of the things that I think we do is we believe so much in the children, we don't hide their voice. We allow them to speak, we encourage them to speak, we engage them in their classes. We can do that because we have small classes. We have intimate classes. And one of the things that makes us a little different is that we believe in our parents. We partnership with our parents. We listen to our parents. Our parents have a voice, our children have a voice, the teachers have a voice. All cohorts in our community have a voice. And sharing like this helps us to propel the children to believe in their self and to be very proud of their own voice. So two things that we emphasize greater than all other things is ELA vocabulary, grammar, and of course, my favorite subject of all, math. And our children do very, very well in math. We believe in them. And I don't want to say much, because I could go on and on. Our school is in the inner city of the Bronx. We're about 40 years old, and I've been there for 40 years, but I shouldn't talk about it because I love it. It is my life. The children are happy. And I have a rule in our school. All these schools have rules, and they succeed because they have rules. And one of the rules, I'm sure all the principals would say, children cannot run in the hall. The one thing that I allow is children to skip. So sometimes you'll see the little kindergartner, the first grader, and even older children skipping in the hall. And I say, that is okay, never stop them, because you cannot be sad and skip. When someone is skipping, they're joyful, they're happy. And so I applaud the skip, and I call all of them my little chickadees. And that's all.
That's wonderful. It really is a joyful place. And I'm so glad that so many children are able to make, or so many families are able to make the choice to go to your school. That's what's wonderful. Thank you so much.
And thank you all. Thanks, Lisa.
Of course. So now, Andrea, I know that you have testified before the New Hampshire legislature about the benefits of school choice, both I think for the education tax credit program and the new education freedom accounts program. So what does school choice mean to you, and why have you worked so hard to help more families get the chance to be able to go to a school like yours?
So I've been the principal here at Bishop Brady High School. We're a small Catholic high school in Concord, New Hampshire, about 250 students. And I've been the principal here for 8 years. But prior to that, I've been an educator for 40 years in both public and private schools. And I guess you could say I principal the way I parent. And I think of all my students the same way I think of my own two children, who were very different. One of my children went to a very large public high school. The other went to a very small Catholic high school, and they both did a lot of different things. I had the financial means to make that happen for them, and to find a place where they could both succeed really well. But every parent doesn't have that opportunity. And you heard our governor say it earlier, many students can do well in any school setting, but that doesn't mean that they are going to excel in any school setting. And that doesn't mean that every student is meeting success in those other school settings. And so Bishop Brady is an opportunity for students to come in and do something different. Like Lois said, we have very small class sizes. We're a very tight, caring community. If you ask any of my faculty and any of my students, they will talk about the relationships they develop. I think those are the things that are important with school choice. And when Kate Baker called me and said, I need your help, would you come and testify? I went. I don't think that this is a partisan issue. I think this is a social justice issue, and making opportunities available for all kids to find a place where they fit, where they can succeed. And I think, we all have a need to stand up for those students, whether it's my children or someone else's children. They all need that opportunity to succeed. I also took some of my students that are recipients of Children's Scholarship to testify as well, and to listen to them tell their stories about how school was different for them when they were able to utilize the Children's Scholarship Fund to come to Bishop Brady, what life was different, how it was different for them here in our community than it was in their previous school. I mean, for all those reasons, I walk down the hallway and I look and see the kids that I know were bullied in their other schools, the kids that are struggling learners, the kids that had IEPs in their other school and don't have IEPs here at my school. It's just it's a justice issue for me. It's just a moral obligation that I have to do that.
Oh, certainly. One size does not fit all. So I'm so glad for your activism. Sharon, I wanted to ask you about latitude learning, because this is quite a different thing compared to the other schools that we've talked about. Can you tell us how you work with homeschool families and why they seek you out?
Absolutely. First, I have to comment on the skipping though. Just today, I had a child run and then say, oh, wait, I'm skipping. And it's true. He had such joy as he was doing that. So homeschoolers skip to. So Latitude Learning, we're in central New Hampshire, and we offer in-person learning opportunities for homeschoolers. So there's often a misconception about homeschoolers that they do all of their learning at home. And that's far from the case. Most homeschoolers spend a lot of their time, well, prior to the pandemic, going to museums and having field trips and really engaging in life. So that's changed in the last 2 years, of course, but at Latitude, we specialize in these classes that get kids together socially. We support the families at the same time, and kids really get to follow their own educational pursuits and passions. So our model, yes, is very different than a traditional school, but we're there to support the homeschooling families. Parents are the ones who are educating their children through homeschooling, but we're there supporting the parents in the process. And what Children's Scholarship Fund and the Education Freedom Accounts have done to homeschooling in New Hampshire, it has been revolutionary. So we have a number of families that use one or the other programs, and without them, they couldn't provide those learning opportunities for their kids. Curricula is very expensive for families, and any class is usually very expensive. And what we're able to do as both a nonprofit and by accepting these funds is to enable those opportunities for our families. And I've received so many positive comments from parents that without Latitude, they don't know where they would be, because their children, well, they may not learn well in a traditional environment. By having the support and by being given choices in their education, they're all just flourishing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been great to hear from three school leaders, one at traditional Catholic high school, an independent school in the Bronx, and then a homeschool cooperative, or company that's providing resources to homeschoolers. I wish we had more time, but I think we want to move on and get to the big drawing in a few minutes. But I wanted to thank Lois Gregory, Sharon Osborne, and Andrea Elliott so much for joining us, for sharing your insights. It's great to hear from all of you, and I wish you the very best with the rest of the school year. So very soon, Nicole is going to be back to announce the winners of the big prize drawing. So please stay tuned for that. But just before that, we're going to hear from Faith, who's a CSF New Hampshire scholar, and she's going to talk about the difference her scholarship has made. Thank you so much.
My name is Faith Hohenadel, and I'm a junior here at Holy Family Academy. Having a scholarship significantly helps me be able to attend this school, and I don't think I would be able to without it. And I don't think I would be the person I am today without coming here, so I'm really grateful for that. I feel like it's very important for people to be able to choose what kind of education they want, because as you know, at public school and charter school and private school, everything is so different. They prioritize different things. So the main thing here is our faith, and everything is centered around that, and that's something very important to me. So I think that it's very important that my parents gave me the opportunity to choose where I wanted to go. You have to challenge yourself, and sometimes it's very agonizing and very difficult, but once you can see the other side, you realize that it was good, and you can't get better without challenging yourself or staying the same. They push you to do more than you think you can, especially the teachers, because they'll stay after school until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock to help you with homework that you might be missing, or if you just need to talk, you know what I mean? And they're just always there for you. They're almost like, it's a family, Holy Family.
Thank you, Faith, for that interview from Holy Family Academy in New Hampshire. We hope that you've been enjoying the program so far this evening, but now it is time for the moment we've all been waiting for, the wrapping drawing. So the first person, and there's a little hand raise feature at the bottom of your screen. If I call your name and you won the raffle, just go ahead and raise your hand. We'll bring you on screen and congratulate you. So our first winner, and this is going to be the winner of the Chromebook, is Sean Sullivan. Sean Sullivan, are you here? Raise your hand if you're here, and we can bring you on screen if you'd like. And then I'll wait for Olivia to confirm if Sean is here. And our next winner and this winner is going to be of the mini iPad, is Lori Avery. Is Lori Avery here? Lori Avery, raise your hand. And if you're here, we can bring you on screen. If you're online on Facebook Live and you're not in here, you can either raise your hand if you're in the Zoom or comment on the Facebook Live. So is Lori Avery here? And lastly, the winner of the Amazon gift. Oh, she's here. Congratulations, Lori, on winning the mini iPad. And lastly, our next winner is of the Amazon gift card, and that is Diana Gomez-Ray. Is Diana Gomez-Ray here?
Yes, all of the participants are here. They have all declined coming up.
Okay, which is completely fine. Congratulations to all of our winners. And lastly, I want to, oh, sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, lastly, I want to share comments. Earlier, we asked the question of what does school choice mean to you? And so I want to share the comments of what some of our parents said and what school choice means to you. Amanda Littlefield said, school choice means the world to me. My son has disabilities that make it impossible for him to attend a regular school. So being able to homeschool him at his pace is amazing. Wow, that's really beautiful, Amanda. Next, Nicole says, Sank says, school choice means that I don't have to worry that my child will have to go through thinking that he is dumb because he thinks differently, like I did. And Sean Sullivan, who won the first prize, said, school choice to me means freedom. I have the freedom and the ability to choose a school that I know my child will thrive in. And Ashley Oliver says, school choice means freedom and peace. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but I think it's Shakira. I think school choice means a lot to me as a parent. It means providing a safe environment and providing the help any child may need. School choice is giving your child the best you can. Thank you so much for sharing those comments. I ask you, as you know, school choice week is once a year, continue to ask yourself, what does school choice mean to you? And you know, what can you do to advocate for school choice as well? I want to thank all of our amazing guests for joining us tonight. Before I name them off each, this is the last time I'm going to ask this of you. Everyone take out your phone. Yes, take out your phone. I'm talking to everyone. And make sure you follow us on social media. If you want to get updates of events that CSF New Hampshire, CSF New York is having, or if you just want to participate in, you know, we share a lot of beautiful moments and quotes from parents and scholars on our social media, go ahead and follow us. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So if you have any of those platforms, the links are right here. And as I thank our guest, you can go ahead and type those in. So I'm giving you a chance to take your phone out and go ahead and follow us. We'd be greatly appreciated. We'd love to connect with you and see you more throughout the year. So thank you so much to our amazing guest again, to Miss Virginia, to the principals, to the parents who joined us, to Principal Acosta Perez, who did an interview with us, to Elianny, Yanira, and Faith, who shared those stories with us via video. We appreciate you all so much. We want to acknowledge the Cato Institute and the Moving Picture Institute for the clips of Miss Virginia, and of course, Governor Sununu's remarks. And of course, special thanks to Ed Choice and National School Choice Week for making this event possible. Finally, I'd like to thank all the parents who tuned in tonight. Your commitment to your child's education is inspiring. But that's all. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. And don't forget, if you didn't get them yet, they're right here, both for New Hampshire and New York. And we'll see you next year. Thank you so much for joining us.